And today, if you missed it, it was a big day for the opposition New Patriotic Party. This is their first demonstration as a main opposition party since they lost the elections in December. And you know what demonstrations do for political parties? It's a time to measure if their influence, their gravitas that they claim to have as a political party is really grounded on any merit. Because if you can't pull people on the streets as a main opposition political party, then you are in deep trouble because your opponents will use it against you. So they put together a few people onto the streets, including a coalition of political parties. But what really was the point of this demonstration, considering that the substance of what they were protesting was a subject of a constitutional process? In fact, it was constituted pursuant to the Article 146. And some say, well, so it's a constitutional process that has been triggered. And so why are they protesting when due process is being followed? But listen to the New Patriotic Party themselves. And these are the pictures. It was one very intense process today. The protest on the streets, all the key members of the party were there. It was a New Patriotic Party. It was the National Democratic Party, the NPP. You have the Liberal Party of Ghana was also part of this protest today. And then you have the People's National Party. So 4 political parties came together to put their shoulders behind the petition that was asking President John Dramani Mahama to reverse course as far as the removal of the CJ is concerned. It's been 13 days, we know now, since she was suspended, the Chief Justice, and the NPP isn't happy with that particular decision to suspend her. Now, if you look at the position of the NPP, they said that the suspension of the CJ was an abuse of power. How so, really? They also claim that Justice Palman lacks neutrality as a committee chair. I mean, and we need to unpack that a bit more and understand why the party is making that particular point. The timing of the 7th Supreme Court judge's appointment is suspicious. I mean, and to think that this is a party that was in power just a short few months back, that also at one point agreed with the then Chief Justice to also nominate 5 members of the judiciary to the Supreme Court. How is this suspicious? What makes it suspicious? We'll ask them. They also say that Mahama vowed to balance the court, and that is when he was in opposition. And so that for them, what is happening is evidence of Mahama trying to execute an agenda that was hatched in opposition. The judiciary must stand united with the CJ. They're actually inciting members of the judiciary against the executive arm of government. Many have said that is what the NPP is doing. Do they agree? We'll look at that. And then they have a few demands. The first is that they want the immediate reinstatement of the Chief Justice. They want to replace Justice Palman as a chair and reconstitute the committee. But you must ask a fundamental question. The CJ has a right, if indeed she agrees with this position, to object to Justice Palman being the chair of that committee. She can actually request for him to recuse himself because she will then state that she doesn't believe that she will get a fair trial, a fair hearing at the committee sitting. She hasn't done so. Isn't the NPP crying more than the bereaved? At least we don't know she has. We'll ask them that question. Again, they demanded today that Parliament must initiate a bipartisan inquiry into the CJ suspension. Really? And the makeup of that investigation, they must put together a committee for this to happen. How is this even one demand to even consider? Thirdly, Parliament should enact stronger laws to curb executive overreach. Well, keeping them honest, the former president also used the same constitutional provisions to see out, Charlotte say. At the time, did they find the need to ask Parliament to enact stronger laws to curb executive overreach? Was the president overreaching at the time? What's the difference between that and what we are currently witnessing? They also want the president to publicly reject the third term claims and commit to upholding judicial independence. It's almost as if you accuse the individual and he must now come and defend himself when the person who accuses must back their accusation with the evidence. He who alleges must prove. They're actually asking the president to come and prove that he doesn't have a third term plot in mind How does that even work out? We'll ask the NPP when we sit down for a conversation. But today when they met, the Deputy Chief of Staff, Stan Dogbe, met them, received the petition at Jubilee House. He said a few things, that let the legal process run its course and rest assured that the justice and fairness will prevail. So that's an assurance. Are they happy with the assurance? And the question fundamentally is, what really did they achieve with today's protest? My guests are joining me for a conversation here on PM Express after this. And thanks for staying with us here on PM Express. It is always brought to you by Syntax Tanks. It is strong. It is tough. It's also brought to you by Academic Times, Pepsodent Cavity Fighter also. And I always recommend it to you, the Syntax Tanks, because if we want to really talk about tanks, then you know there's only one secret. It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it is not the correct tank. That's right. The tortoise tank, Syntax Tanks, is the champion of water tanks. It is strong, it is durable, and built to handle our Ghanaian weather, rain or shine. Syntax Tank has your back. So go out there, check your tank, and if it doesn't have the tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade and join the Syntax Tank family today. Why don't you call them, 0244-335-168, or you can buy now or find their agents across the country, 400 of them. Go online at syntaxtanks.gh.com. And of course, there is the Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, which you also need to get tonight before you sleep, which, as you know, it is the preferred choice for many dentists across the country. My guests are joining me for a conversation tonight on the day when the NPP and a host of other political parties hit the streets. Well, my guest joining me, Andy Japamesa, a former Deputy Energy Minister, is in the studio with me, and he is very clear, no doubt whatsoever, that he had thousands on the street today, together with the three other parties who hit the street to protest against the current processes that the Chief Justice is being taken through that may or may not lead to her removal. She's currently suspended. We're asking, what difference did this protest make? Mustafa Gbande is the Deputy Director of Operations at the Presidency. He's the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, also joins us via Zoom for this conversation. So, Andy, you were on the protest today?
Yes, I was.
You walked?
Let me say good morning to
good exercise for you?
And our cherished viewers and my brother on the other side, Mustafa.
Yeah, good exercise for you?
It certainly was a good exercise.
Beyond that, what did he achieve?
Of course, drawing attention to issues that are pertinent to our national democratic discourse, I don't think is something that we can gloss over. Treat it with, the kind of dismissive posturing. They are critical matters that affect the integrity, the independence of our judiciary, that the New Patriotic Party and three other political parties deemed necessary to go out there and register their protest, bring to the attention of Ghanaians who may not be aware of what is happening, and to the international community about the happenings within our judiciary, especially the avowed position of our brothers in the NDC to tamper with the judiciary by removing the Chief Justice as the first point, okay? And so it was necessary that we go out there in our numbers. And I don't think that the numbers that we saw hitting the street today was few as you described them. Ghanaians actually came out forcefully to register their disdain for the actions that our brothers in the NDC are seeking to visit on our judiciary.
So the question was, what really did you achieve beyond just drawing attention? You have a set of demands.
But of course, yes, we had a set of demands. It behoves on the president, and we've been assured that they're going to look at it. The process is going to be fair. I expect that we would get some further response going forward when the petition is brought to the attention of
Let's
the
look at the specifics.
Yeah,
because you are a lawyer, a lot of your demands and your concerns have to do with the constitutional process. Can you point to me one constitutional breach in the process that is currently being executed under 146?
Unless, of course, you are not privy to the Ghana Bar Association statement that they issued following the media review conference. Okay? It was categorical that as far as they are concerned, and we share that view as well, Article 296C of the Constitution has been breached. Well, there are no regulations. This is an educatory matter.
But if there are no regulations, I mean, this is a recycled subject. I mean, because you cited the Ghana Bar Association, I had their spokesperson on the show. I asked him the same question I'm asking you. If there are no regulations, you have to work with something. You have to work with the Constitution. What else do you expect the president to do when he's received a petition? He must work with the Constitution. He can't work with a legislation that doesn't exist.
Who says that he couldn't have published the regulations before he proceeded to exercise his discretion?
So you say that he received the petition.
Who says he couldn't have done that?
He received the petition when the constitutional injunctions are very clear. You yourself have said that he
Show me the timeline that is provided for in the Constitution that says
he is nothing more than a conveyor belt.
Show me the provisions in the Constitution that says that if the president receives the petition, he should act within a certain time.
Show me the provision that says that if he receives the petition, he must wait for regulations to be passed before he proceeds.
To the extent that your actions are discretionary, relative to the
suspension. There are no discretionary. No, I mean, suspension, yes. Let's start with the process. He receives the petition.
That's where.
But you jumped to suspension. But before the suspension, the constitutional process is very clear. He receives, he shall. Mm-hmm. He receives, he shall. You're saying that when he says he shall, no, it's important.
The mandatory provision of shall.
Yeah, but it's a mandatory.
When it comes to 296, which also says shall, you're telling me that to the extent that there are no regulations, we should work with something. When there's a mandatory provision that the Constitution says you need to publish regulations before you act, the Supreme Court has had occasion to make a determination of this subject matter.
I mean, when Akufo-Addo was implementing the same constitutional provision against Charlotte Osei, did you ask him to stop first and put in place regulations?
But Charlotte Osei was not suspended, was she?
No, I'm asking you about this fundamental process.
No, so how does that...
The fundamental process, the same clause.
How does that even come up?
It does.
How does it come up?
He was also implementing 146. True or false?
146 and what?
He was also implementing 146.
I asked you whether Charlotte Osei was suspended.
No, but it wasn't about... It's not about suspension.
The call is for the president to revoke the suspension. Is that not it? Nobody has quarreled with him.
And to stop the process.
Safe to say that the issue that we're raising is this, that, look, ordinarily, triggering 146 is legitimate. But context is important. And it seems to us that by reason of the statements that they themselves had made in opposition, this whole exercise in attempting to remove the Chief Justice is preconceived. Of course, you can go by the letter of the Constitution. That's why if you look at the first statement that the Ghana Bar Association issued, at the time that they hadn't become privy to the contents of the petition and the responses that the Chief Justice had issued, said that we expect you, as you go through this process, not to disregard the letter and spirit of the Constitution. So it's important that in applying the provisions of the Constitution, you do not only go by the letter. We're saying that to the extent that these our friends had indicated right from the time that they were in opposition of their desire to change the Chief Justice and to reset the bar, the judiciary, this whole exercise is preconceived. But it doesn't afford with the spirit of the...
But that is conjecture.
How is it conjecture?
It's just based on a multitude of suspicions.
Unless, of course, you want to pretend to be an ostrich.
Constitutes evidence.
I'm saying context is important. Why?
But context is not evidence.
Hold on. Is it not true that the NDC said so when they were in opposition?
Yeah, they did.
So how do you tell me that it's on
that because they said so that they would balance the
scales. They're actually manifesting it through the process that they've been
But
initiated.
there is a constitutional process.
I don't have a difficulty. That's why I said that you can go by the letter and disregard the spirit of the Constitution. And that in itself is bad faith.
Why is that bad faith?
But why is it not bad faith?
But the letter and the spirit.
Hold on. Yes.
If you go by the letter of the Constitution, so you don't disagree that they're going by the letter of the Constitution.
But of course, that's precisely what we've been saying all along.
Yeah, but there's nothing unconstitutional about it.
But so you
that's a concession. That is nothing unconstitutional.
You are bent on your position and not listening.
No, I'm just asking the question.
But
once you agree that they are going by the letter,
hold on.
Then there's nothing unconstitutional about it.
I've said on one of your platforms, especially I believe it was Samson Aid in
on Newsfile.
That when this whole exercise started, I was prepared to give the government a benefit of the doubt. Because after all, there's a clear recognition on my part and the part of the NPP that the Chief Justice was not above the law. Okay? But the commentary, Sambi Jemfi, my good friend Edwin Tamaklu, and all the things that they were saying, vis-a-vis the response that ultimately became public, then it dawned on everybody that this must be something other than a legitimate constitutional process to remove the Chief Justice. And we are drawing the attention of His Excellency the President that that pathway is a dangerous one. So he should take a step back and take a second look at it, because going on the path of rendering the office of the Chief Justice coterminous with the administration that appointed them obviously would be dangerous for our democracy. And if you think that it is not, well, let's leave it then. But I'm not sure you believe that it's a good path for us to pursue. Okay? And you hear our friends citing instances that, oh, you did it to Charlotte, and say, in any event, you and I know the circumstances that led to Charlotte Osei's removal. Okay? The infighting within their own circles at, the Electoral Commission. Okay? In any event, those who said that Charlotte Osei's removal was wrongful, how did they justify the removal of the Chief Justice at this point? What is the principle? Yeah,
but that's the question that you should be answering.
But I'm saying that assuming...
You found nothing wrong with that process.
I'm saying that assuming...
But you find everything wrong with the process under the same process.
So it's a chicken and egg, right? If it suits you, then it's fine. Is that what you're saying?
If it suits
but I'm saying...
Then it's fine. That's the point about the NPP.
I'm saying that the people who complained and promised to reset, Ghanaians expect better from them, assuming that they believed that the process that Madame Charlotte Osei was taking through was unfair, was improper, was wrongful. You would expect that when they get the opportunity to govern, they won't go through the same pathway. And that if they do, then you say, oh, well, the NPP, you did it. If that's the path I want to go as a country, so be it.
There's something you said in your
Because you see, yeah, please.
You said that by unilaterally suspending the Chief Justice, you have overstepped your constitutional mandate.
Precisely.
He did not unilaterally suspend the Chief Justice. This was done in consultation with the Council of State. How is that unilateral? So
let them publish the prima facie decision that led to the decision to suspend.
Where's the precedent for that?
People are quoting it on public platforms.
Yes, but the process itself, the Constitution is very explicit.
In fact, there's a precedent.
Must be in
President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, when he determined Kweku Azan's petition, published the prima facie decision.
Because he had dismissed. He was not moving to the next step. No, that's a different. He wasn't moving to the next step of Constitutional Committee. At which point the Constitution is very clear.
How is that relevant?
At which point, no, it's very important. At which point the Constitution is very clear that it has to be in camera. But in this case, they moved to the next step. You say they should publish it.
We are being told that the prima facie decision does not constitute guilt. Correct?
It doesn't, yes.
Yeah, so publish it and let's see the basis for you arriving at that decision.
The only person who can demand that as of right is the Chief Justice.
Your party people are quoting it copiously on public platforms.
Yeah, but we've all seen the petition.
And the court, the Constitution says that this entire process must be in camera.
Yeah, but you're asking for publication.
But that's the point, that the actors in government who have put these things out there.
But how do you know they put it out?
I was on Newsfile with Sami Jemfi last
Because we've all seen it in social media.
You've seen the prima facie decision?
No, I mean, I'm talking about the petition. The petition.
And who disclosed it?
I don't know.
You're asking me, you don't know?
Because you've also quoted from me.
Very interesting.
I absolutely don't know who published it. I don't know who published it.
You didn't listen to Ekosi say, where Sami Jemfi and Co were quoting, claiming to have intercepted the Chief Justice's responses and were quoting same on national radio. You didn't hear. Evans, you didn't.
So because they've said it, then publish the whole thing.
Precisely. Publish it and let's see.
But Sami Gyamfi is not an officer of the court. In fact, he's not part of the formal processes under Article 146. So whatever he says is inconsequential to the process itself.
But so are you then suggesting that publishing it will be consequential to the
because publishing
it
will be going against the grain of the Constitution, which says it has to be in camera.
Yeah, of course.
So what you're asking for is actually contrary to the Constitution.
But we've prejudiced the entire proceedings.
Yeah, because somebody else has spoken about it.
The Chief Justice is being hung in the media for statements that are being attributed to her. And we're saying that in that case, make the basis for the prima facie decision public. Because we've seen her responses. And I'm satisfied that her responses relative to the petition do not disclose a prima facie matter for which the next step ought to be carried through. But the president says he believes it. So make it public. Your party people have it. So make it public. So Ghanaians can judge whether indeed and in fact the 146 provision that we are quoting in extenso as being the basis for this process is actually the case or not. Because we all have minds. So we all can read and understand.
So who are you asking to publish, the president or the commission?
The Ghana Bar Association actually made that demand as well, that the government should publish, right here, the resolutions that were passed.
I saw
the call on the government to publish the prima facie decision so Ghanaians can see. Okay? And I believe that that's the right way to go. The enactment of the regulations, they are essential. It ought to be published before 296, especially as relates to adjudications, can't be triggered. It's a constitutional imperative.
You know, I have the deputy.
I know that the previous Attorney General actually started work on the regulations that govern the exercise of discretion on Article 296.
And he didn't.
But of course.
He had 8 years and did nothing.
Government is a continuum.
You use this to remove
I'm saying that government is a continuum.
One independent institution head.
Government is a continuum.
Okay. Let me bring
I'm not so sure whether it is factual that any independent constitutional head has been removed under 296. Because 296 is
and 146.
But that's the point. So
let me bring in the man of the presidency who can speak to what they intend to do with your petition. Mr. Gbande, thank you for staying with us. So the presidency received the petition today. The demands are threefold: immediate and unconditional reinstatement of the Chief Justice, a public reaffirmation of your commitment to upholding the independence of the judiciary, and then affirm the growing perception that your decisions regarding this whole process is not laying the groundwork for a judicial interpretation of Article 66.2 that would, in essence, aid a president's desire, as it has been alleged, to stay in power for a third term. What does the presidency plan to do with the petition?
Thank you very much, Evans, and good evening to my brother sitting in your studio and our cherished listeners. Indeed, today is a very wonderful day, and I am very excited about the demonstration organized by the NPP. It was not the people of Ghana. It was not also a coalition. It was an NPP-funded, organized, mobilized demonstration, and that I will stand on the strong submissions of the Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of operation, who received this petition on behalf of His Excellency the President, and his opening remarks. I think it does justice to everything anybody would have said after this demonstration. But the little things that are left with is to say that at this point, the demonstrators derive their powers from a constitution. Their right to demonstrate. They've done so. The same constitution requires that certain processes be followed in certain decisions. I don't think that demonstrations have constituted enough structures such that could displace decisions that are being taken, based on constitutionally provided guidelines. And so we should respect that same constitution and allow the processes to continue. Again, I've heard my brother, his opening remarks, saying that, they've poured a lot of numbers onto the streets, which is good. Nobody underestimated the NPP and their membership. The argument have never been that because the NPP lost election, their party have collapsed. It is still a strong political party, and we respect that. Perhaps they wanted to test their popularity, which is good. At the end of the day, they also failed to drive home anything, because clearly there was no need for demonstrations in the first place. All these things they have talked about have already been spoken. People have shared opinions. There are those who disagree. There are those who agree. But at the end of the day, it is not the place of the NPP, my brother Ajapa, or Apenya Markins to determine whether or not all of these process gives fidelity or finds fidelity with the law. And so,
hello, Mr. Bande. I believe we may have lost his audio there. Hopefully he reconnects with us. It's important to hear him because he's the Deputy Director of Operations at the Presidency. And the final place where Andy Japamesa and the minority leader submitted their petition is at the Presidency. And I believe it is the place that they really intended to finish, considering that the President was really at the heart of the entire process. The President is actually at the center of that Provision 146. But, Andy, there's another part of your petition where you actually raise issues with the neutrality of the chairman of the committee, Justice Scott Palmer. What has he done wrong?
Before I deal with that, I don't know why our friends have the penchant for describing us as NPP people, organized by the NPP and not the people of Ghana. Why? NPP people, we are from China or Congo. We are also Ghanaians. Okay? So if the NPP, who are also people of Ghana, organize a demonstration, you say that it was organized by the NPP and not the people of Ghana. Where are we from? Evans. We hold the same citizenship as the NDC. So let's not go into that kind of discourse, okay? Look, on the Justice Palmer issue, of course, the Supreme Court, except when they're determining some interlocutory matters where a sole judge sits, every time that the court sits, it's a panel. And one of the petitioners, okay, Mr. Ofori, is relying on a case that the chairman, Justice Palmer, was a member of the panel against the Chief Justice. So clearly...
Which case is this?
Ofori versus EcoBank. Okay. Clearly, he is a person of interest. Because one of the petitions that the petitioner is raising relates to the Supreme Court decision in that EcoBank case, of which Justice Palmer was a member of the panel. The Chief Justice presided, but he was a member of the panel. So if he himself is going to investigate a matter that he was a member of the panel of, then it clearly seems to me that that constitutes conflict of interest for which he cannot be a member of the panel.
I mean,
but it will be good.
But why are you crying more than a bereaved? It is the Chief Justice's right to raise that matter if indeed she believes that
and you
the
think
chairman
that we
is
are not an
conflicted.
interested party for us to
Why
raise-
are you an interested party in the matter?
But we are a political party registered in this country.
But there's no
We
case
are a government
against you.
in waiting.
No, but this is a very personal matter against the passing
have you seen some
of the
the,
Chief
Have you
Justice.
seen some of the issues
On
that were
stated
raised?
ground of
Have you
misbehavior.
Have you seen?
How are you interested
seen
in that?
Some of the issues that were raised in the petition that
What
relate to third parties, staff of judicial service. Mr. Ofori included them in his petition.
Yes.
Why was he crying more than they bereaved? Was he the one who was affected by those decisions of the judiciary?
Yeah, but he's taking a course of action.
Oh, Ivan.
Pursuant to
taking course
constitutional
of action,
provision.
what?
You haven't.
And we cannot speak
No, but
that this matter is key. You were part of the panel. Is it not factual that there was a member of the panel?
Yeah, but you're saying, you say, I mean, if there's anybody who can really assert that right, is the Chief Justice who is actually now a silent on this process, who was also on the panel.
It doesn't.
But she hasn't found the need to do it, and you are sitting outside raising a point about
interested party in raising this matter, and we have raised it. If the Chief Justice is
how is that a legitimate concern when the individual who is directly affected herself has not found the need to raise it as an issue?
Evans, these matters are ones that have come into the public domain. We all have seen the petition. We all have seen the responses. We all know, as a matter of fact, that the Chief Justice's or the Supreme Court's decision in Daniel Ofori versus EcoBank and others is part of the petition that has been filed against the Chief Justice. Justice Puaman was a member of the panel that determined the EcoBank matter.
You have made the point.
We all ought to take judicial notice of the fact that this is an obvious conflict of interest.
And the Chief Justice doesn't know that?
But she hasn't gotten the opportunity to meet the committee.
How do you know the committee?
But have they started sitting?
I don't know. How do you know they haven't started?
But
even before they start,
but it's like you wouldn't know if the committee.
No, but it doesn't even matter whether they started or not. Immediately the composition was announced, the members, she could have raised an objection. You know this.
I don't know if she
very
would
basic
or not. But as far as I'm concerned, we are not stopped from raising such a critical matter that, in our view, constitute conflict of interest. And the president is minded to take a look at it, examine it with his counsel or otherwise.
Stay with me.
Minded to bring it up during the pendency of the committee's hearing as well. I believe that she'll be entitled to do so as well.
Stay with me. I lost Mustafa earlier. He's back. Yeah, Mustafa, you were making the point about the exercise of the democratic right to protest.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that, and my brother was saying, why am I talking about they being an MP? I just want to situate the conversation within a certain context, that it is not an all-purpose demonstration. It was demonstration that was organized by our own brothers in the NPP. And so we understand that. Now, he and his party, plus all the ones who have demonstrated, want us to now say that matters that should be reserved in camera should be made public, which offends the same processes they are talking about. Okay? Now, why is it that Ajapa Marcia is accusing Sami Jemfi and Edoji for commenting on the matter when Paul Adom Ochre was the one who actually serialized the response of the Chief Justice and put out there? Why are they running away from that conversation? We in the NDC will not join that fray. And I must say that, Evans, they are inviting President Mahama to do a great injustice to the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. In fact, to actually subvert Constitution that allows them an early morning, bring people from Winneba, bring people from Kumasi to come and demonstrate in Accra. So I'm saying that they have demonstrated, at the end of the day, the inconsistencies with which they have finished their demonstration is my trouble. One, it is no longer just that Justice Tokuno was unfairly treated, but that they can see into the future that President Mahama would have to go a third term.
Does he want to go for a third term?
They are so scared. Does he want to do what?
Does he plan a third term? For which reason this is all been part of the orchestrated plan?
I mean, Evans, why are we being invited into this destructive conversation? Is it in the place of the NPP to determine constitutional interpretation? Or it is wrong for anybody to interpret the Constitution? Or because NPP is involved, they already know that in future, if we have to interpret our Constitution, it means that there is some proprietary interest politically motivated by anybody, such that they know what the outcome will be. So we should demonstrate from today. And I would tell my brother, they should hasten slowly. The manner in which they are politicizing this whole matter would injure the Chief Justice herself. You are further exposing the Chief Justice politically and aligning her to a particular opinion or argument from a group of people, which is not fair to herself. The way they are going, tomorrow, if people come out to say things that even borders on criminality, as far as the Chief Justice is concerned, the NPP will be put to shame. And I believe that, in my own opinion, Evans, a man who sits to determine who have stolen a goat and who have stolen a ship to go to jail, okay, that man should come with equity. If we have the judge who takes money that he's not supposed to take or he doesn't deserve, that money constitutes a crime. What about that? If all these things begin to come out, what would the NPP say? So I simply believe that my brothers are running away from their shadows because they think that if they don't stage this kind of cover-up demonstrations, justice would take care of them.
Well, they also
so
make,
let them join.
They also make a fundamental
My brother who
point.
is sitting there.
Yeah.
Any day in this country that PDS become a subject matter of discussion before a law court, he will be there. And so that is the very reason why most of them will partake in such demonstrations, to cover up.
Yeah, I mean, back to the CJ issue. He makes the point that what is happening is actually predetermined. And he talks about the pronouncements that some political figures, including yourself, have made in the past.
What made them
in
have
your case,
opinions that we don't have?
In your case specifically, on the 18th of April, you said the following, speaking to one of the radio stations in Accra, quote, "We haven't amended our laws. The same law gave President Akufo-Addo the right to remove Charlotte Osei. They are all independent institutions, but he removed her. We have come, not just repeating precedents, but to deal with everyone on a case-by-case basis. The Chief Justice will have to go," end quote. The NPP says that is premeditated. And it just showed a grand scheme to just use the Constitution as an excuse, weaponize it to remove the Chief Justice, and that this was foretold.
I am a Deputy General Secretary of a political party. My brother Justin Kodia and Nana B are executives of a political party. They have the right to comment on the matter and we don't have, because we are Togolese. Indeed, I believe that there's a fundamental issue with the Chief Justice. Any day, I believe that Ghanaians do not trust her presence at the judiciary as a head. I also believe that there are many issues that we can begin to talk about, that at the end of the day, if it comes out, it may attack the reputation of the woman, and I don't want to go there. Okay? They have submitted a petition to the president. That petition will be responded, and I believe that the processes must continue.
But you do admit that comments such as what I just put to you that you altered makes their case that this was part of a grand political plot to remove the Chief Justice, and that people like you already knew about it before it even happened.
The people who have petitioned, have they not premeditated? The petition was not to serve a Tea Party. They believe that they have petitioned within their rights, seeking for some punishment or some processes to be invoked in respect of what has been provided for in our Constitution. I do not even know the petitioners. Okay? So if my brothers can have an opinion on the matter, I should not have. When we have had Afrobarometer reports imputing that Ghanaians do not have confidence in the judiciary because they believe that it was, weaponized under President Akufo-Addo. Those Ghanaians have ceased to be Ghanaians because they shouldn't talk about the matter. I, on any day, have an opinion about the Chief Justice. I am not at the Council of State. I'm not a member of Council of State. I'm not part of the process. I have a right to comment on the matter. And then I did commented on the matter. Just as he is sitting in the studio and he has turned himself a Supreme Court that determines how the Constitution should be interpreted and should not be interpreted. They have politicized the matter than anybody else. They have even gone forward to organize a demonstration. And today, the outcome of their demonstration showed one clear thing, that indeed there is a brilliant.
Hello, Mustafa. We may have lost him there, but he makes a point. The third demand that you place before the president, affirm that the growing perception that your decisions regarding the judiciary are laying the groundwork for judicial interpretation of Article 66(2) to favor a possible third term of which you will be a beneficiary is false and has not crossed your mind. I mean, that, many say, is inviting an absurdity. You are making an allegation, you're accusing somebody, and you are now saying, you who allege, you don't have the evidence to prove it. The person you're accusing must prove himself not guilty.
Evans, I don't know why my brothers, at every point that I'm engaged in a political debate with them, they bring up PDS. Mustafa, I'm here. I haven't gone anywhere. And if any matter comes up on PDS, I'm not sure it's the Supreme Court that is going to deal with it. Okay? So I'm here. I'm ever ready to deal with PDS matters if it comes up. But there's nothing untoward that I personally have done when it comes to PDS. So really, not an issue at all.
Evans, is it clear now?
Yeah, we lost you briefly, but hold on for a second for me. I'll come back to you.
You see,
yes.
Evans, the coming events, they say, cast their shadow. Okay? The president made statements when he was in opposition. Indeed, and in fact, when the proposal to increase the number of Supreme Court judges to 20 came up, he is on record to have said that he doesn't believe that we should increase the number of Supreme Court judges to 20, and that we should cap it at 15. Correct? He's made statements to the effect that the court is not balanced. And so, if he gets the opportunity, he is asking his NDC Lawyers Forum to avail themselves to be appointed into the judiciary. His national chairman has made comments. My good friend and brother Mustafa has made comments that suggest that their party really is bent on changing the makeup of the Supreme Court. They allege that Akufo-Addo packed the Supreme Court.
Did he not?
How did he? Akufo-Addo inherited the Supreme Court of 14 and left office with the Supreme Court of 14. How does that constitute packing the court?
How many judges did he appoint?
It's neither here nor there because, and I say so because, at every point that Akufo-Addo made appointments to the Supreme Court, it was to replace people who had gone on retirement. In one instance, somebody who had died. So is it a suggestion that when those vacancies occurred, he should not have made those appointments? He should not? Why are we doing this? So it can never be the case that Akufo-Addo packed the Supreme Court. He did not.
Okay.
The facts do not support it. Indeed, see, look at the data of appointments to the Supreme Court, retirements. It just so happened that coincidentally, during his 8-year tenure, many more people had reached retirement age and had to retire from the Supreme Court. In fact, Akufo-Addo is arguably the only president who has appointed 3 chief justices. Right? Justice Sophia Akufu to replace Justice Georgina Wood, who had gone on retirement. Subsequently, when she herself, Justice Akufu, went on retirement, appointed Justice Eni Yeboah to replace him. And when Justice Eni Yeboah went on retirement, appointed. So let us
back to my question.
That is purely intended to advance our own.
Back to my question on your third.
So the point is this:
demand.
If in opposition only a few months ago, you believed that there was a need to cap the court to 15, how then do you come in 5 months when no vacancy has occurred, when no retirement has taken place, to appoint 7 justices? So you open room for people to begin to speculate.
So that's why you're also speculating.
Precisely.
Conjecturing that he wants a third term.
You see, look, personally, I don't think that he would even attempt it.
Yeah, so what's the point?
But it's important that we draw attention because we live in an environment
to a speculation.
Where, to
a rumor.
Whatever you choose to call it. I'm saying that it is important to draw attention.
This is JB Danquest NPP.
What about that?
And you're asking, you're basing a whole petition demand on rumor that the president should come and tell us that he has no intention.
Yes, if it's not true, say so. Why?
Where is the Lord? Why is the Lord?
He said to you that we're doing politics, no? And we live in a political environment.
Is a legend.
People say stuff. Look.
In fact, Afenyo Marking has been categorical.
Why?
Why is Afenyo Marking not in writing it? He was categorical on platform saying that the president has a third term. This is a part of a third term agenda. I'm
not so sure that
now in a formal petition, he's putting it as if there is speculation.
Petition to who?
To the president that he should come and tell us that he has no intention.
On which issues? On his appointment of justices to the Supreme Court. And look, I know some of them personally. Okay? I do not have any doubt that they are eminently qualified to go to the Supreme Court. But the point that we are making is that, is it part of the grand scheme that Mr. Mahama and his party have cooked whilst in opposition and are implementing? Is this part of the scheme that they want to tilt the scale of the bench to the effect that they go and take an interpretation in respect of this matter to achieve a certain political end that favors Mr. Mahama? All he has to do is to say no.
As a lawyer, you believe
I'm
that
a lawyer
is a
and a
position
politician.
to express?
I say I'm a lawyer and a politician.
So this is a politician in you speaking?
Certainly.
Okay. Let me bring in Mustafa Gmane. Mustafa, so on that point, we lost you again. I hope we don't because we have a few minutes to wrap up. You have said, when I asked that question, that the president, were you categorical? Can you be categorical on this for me if you have any word on this? Does the president intend to run for a third term, and maybe that's why all this is happening?
Third term as what? What is third term? What does that mean?
As in he wants to run again, and when this term expires in 2028.
Is it a third term or a second term?
Well, that will be a third term because he's run one already and lost, and now he's coming. This is second term.
But that will be determined by where? By what? So we don't go to Christmas parties to interpret our constitution, isn't it? We surely will have to go to the court someday if that provision will have to be interpreted. But I have not had any conversation with Mr. President.
But your answer you're giving me actually seems to suggest that there may be a plan to go to the Supreme Court for interpretation.
No. I'm just telling you that. I mean, if my goat is missing, you certainly believe that I'll go to the police station. The fact that you can speculate that I'll go to the police station does not seize me not to go to the police station. And so I'm just saying that currently, Mr. President is the president of Ghana and the leader of our party. He has a mandate to deliver. He's on that mandate. We are 5 months or 4 months in power. The most important thing is to try and build a country and build an economy. We are focused on that conversation. There's nowhere this conversation of a third term, whether it's a third term or it's what, coming to anybody's discussion within the NDC or within government. So I don't know where it is coming from. I don't know where they got their information from. And it is all an attempt to incite the public when there's no discussion. You see? So it's unfounded. And I cannot be sitting here to say that there will be a third term or not when that conversation have not even taken place. Now, Evans, we cannot go without having to discuss that today, as part of their demonstration, minority leader actually attacked a police officer. And for me, if we don't discuss this matter, that a person of his caliber, a member of parliament, leader of minority of a political party in parliament, can actually throw his hands and attack a police officer on duty and in uniform in a demonstration. I think that is shameful. And I expect my brother to condemn same and prefer that Appenyo Markins should at least make himself available for the law to test him because he just assaulted a police officer in uniform. That was one of the takeaways of their demonstration. Apart from the fact that the demonstration also highlighted the difference between Nanado's 8 years, where you could not demonstrate without being shot at or without being beaten or without the police frustrating you, and then President Mahama's 5 months in office, where my brothers can actually demonstrate and go home free. They indeed promised that it was going to be a nationwide. It reduced to a 4-hour demonstration. They said they were going to be there, picketing there throughout. But at the end of the day, they were so excited that government accommodated them. They were protected. There's no injury in this demonstration. Nobody has attacked the other. It just shows the credentials of President Mahama. So we thank them for having this demonstration because they've given us evidence to now compare the difference between a bad leader and a good leader. A lawyer who was a president, under him, you couldn't exercise your rights to demonstrate. And a communicator
let my
who
vote
is the
count.
president.
All of a sudden, Mustafa doesn't remember let my vote count.
Not all of a sudden, I do remember
Where
that
people were shipped.
you don't
Gabriel
deserve to have a
Ochedako.
demonstration in the first
Somebody
place.
actually lost his eye. Remember?
But you have
On
actually
that Mr. Mahama's
demonstrated
watch.
today. You demonstrated today. You went into the Jubilee House to present a petition. It was received by a deputy chief of staff. You all laughed and you went back home. You should clap for President Mahama. You're honest for one.
And Mustafa,
You're honest for one.
Look, I agree, we've made progress.
Enjoy these privileges.
No, I'm not in doubt. We made progress.
He agrees. Agree with you. Yeah, you say
We made progress. But it cannot be the case that demonstrators have not been met with violence when Mr. Mahama was president.
Those are
during his first
but he made the point.
And I agree. Look, I haven't seen the Appenyo
Markins. I have seen the video.
Not a problem. I believe, knowing him, that if he actually did that, he's going to respond and do the needful. If he has to apologize to the Ghana Police Service, certainly I expect that he do so.
Committing the crime?
No, of course. He wouldn't lend himself. But is he going to prosecute himself?
But it is up to the police. It is up to the police to decide if they want to exercise a right.
Not an issue at all. But I'm saying that knowing Appenyo, if what he's being accused of having done, he actually did it, I expect him to do the needful. And it's not something that any of us is going to sit here and countenance. You know, not at all. But
there was a premeditation to be violent in this demonstration.
This peaceful demonstration that we conducted today,
there was a premeditation to be violent. That is why you ended up on the police. Because government disappointed you. And I can assure you that under President Mahama, you can demonstrate every day. We will accommodate you.
Under Mr. Mahama
we
too.
Even give you
Thank God we made progress.
Okay.
Because gentlemen, under Mr. Mahama one,
so I mean,
people lost their eyes.
I need to ask you before we go. So what next?
What next?
Yeah.
Oh, of course, we expect government to respond.
If they don't?
Well, it's up to them. The good people of this country will see.
Okay.
At least we've exposed the issues to the Ghanaian. We've exposed the issues to the international community. And we expect that government, they've said that they've received their petition in good faith. We expect them to act.
Okay.
If they don't, the good people of this country would see.
Mustafa Bande, thank you for joining us. Andy, I'm grateful that you joined us. Enjoy the rest of your evening.